internet, we use a lot of water. We use it every single day for pretty much everything. It is incredibly important that we keep this natural resource safe and available, considering it's a basic human right. And that's why this fact check is about fracking. Let's head over to the lab to hear more. For those of you just tuning into the debate, fracking is a newly modified method for the extraction of hydrocarbons from a rock called a shale. Hydrocarbons that aren't financially viable using conventional means. Thanks to this process, the US is now the #1 producer of natural gas in the world, and we're steadily climbing to the top in oil as well. Seems great, however, fracking is hotly debated. I wouldn't be making this video if it wasn't. The media is incredibly polarized, from gaslands to energy in depth, and it's often really hard to distinguish between what's true and what's not. Honestly, a lot of the new studies coming out are directly contradictory, constantly juggling a variety of he said, she said, he said we're destroying the environment, she said it's perfectly safe and saving the economy. So let's get the facts. First, how does it work? Science time. For each well, about 7 million gallons of generally fresh water, some sand and some chemicals are pumped deep underground, about 7,000 feet on average, in order to fracture the rock. The hydrocarbons can escape through the fissures, up the well, to the surface, where the operator can harvest it. If you can ignore the pretty blatant pro-fracking overtone, the video on this site has a pretty good, more in-depth explanation of the process. It's great, so more domestically produced natural gas and oil. What's the problem? MIT did a great study answering this question in their 2011 Future of Natural Gas report. In-depth analysis of 43 different cases of fracking pollution and what the causes were. You can see that study here. Almost half of the problems were due to groundwater contamination of natural gas, which is mostly due, they said, to failures in the cement casing. So that's problem A, fixable with regulation, but also not that dangerous to the surrounding communities. On-site and off-site disposal issues are where the big problems come in. We like to call them fraccidents. You see, along with natural gas and oil, dirty water also comes out of the well. In the first month of production, we see the flowback water, the frack water that we had originally put in the well. Problem? Not so much. Think about it, if you only got out what you put in, you could just take that water and use it to frack another well. Only a small fraction of the waste that's produced is water that we put down. No, the problem lies in what's called formation water. Water that was actually originally in the formation has been there forever, long enough to become really salty, have a lot of trace elements and heavy metals, and also possibly be radioactive. You have to keep it on site until you dispose of it, and then how do you get rid of it? Alright, that was a joke, but flushing it down the toilet isn't actually that far from the truth. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection has kept pretty good records about how fracking wells are disposing of their waste. Their records show that when fracking started up in 2008 and 2009, almost half of that waste was sent to public waste treatment facilities, which are unequipped to handle the types of waste that are coming out of these frack wells. Look, I don't care what you had for lunch, your own personal waste is not going to be as toxic as the stuff that's coming out of these wells. We saw this in Dunkard Creek, West Virginia, and in the lower Monongahela River. Water coming out of these plants were 5 times higher in total dissolved solids, and we found particles that were only found in formation water surfacing in the watersheds. In terms of storage, if you look out west, they're using mainly what are called evaporation ponds, where they literally just put the water in a pit, wait for the water to evaporate. Then you have less volume, but higher toxicity, and a fervent hope that it does not rain. All of these things have a high risk for environmental contamination. So what should we do? That MIT study and a lot of what the EPA has unearthed show that it is not the process that is causing the problem. Faulty enactment of the process is. It seems very possible to safely drill a well, safely store the waste, and then safely dispose of it. To quote Lisa Jackson, previous administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, we need smart regulation, smart rules of the road. We need to outline the actual best practice procedures of the industry, including how far from a water source a well can be drilled, how the casing should be put in, what it should consist of, and how far above and below the water table it should reach. I understand that enacting stricter regulations would cost the industry money, but not enacting stricter regulations could cost lives. Also, New York already enacted a fracking moratorium. If something along the lines of the BP oil disaster happens, there might not even be an industry anymore. Stricter regulation is honestly the best bet for everyone out there. So that's the science. So thanks for tuning into the debate. I hope it was helpful and enlightening in terms of where you stand on fracking. I hope it encourages you to keep asking questions. If you have any questions for me, or if you have another fact that needs checking, please drop me a line in the comment box and I might answer you in another video. If you want to learn more about fracking or fact check me, check out my sources and some other good informative sites in the description box. Thank you again for watching, and if you're interested in more fact check, please hit subscribe.